We might be live. Are we live? We might be live. I think we're live. Yeah, I think we're live. Good morning. It is Friday the 8th of May 2026. We have 1 in 5, I think, of the results in already. English Council election results. Wards disproportionately in Greater Manchester. The English coast, the East English coast, the East Coast of England. What else have we got? London, parts of that I went out of my way to do later in processing. Southampton, Plymouth, Portsmouth, Exeter, Oxford, Reading. These are the results we've had so far. My goodness me, an absolute bunfest for the incumbent government. It's a rout. It's an unmistakable rout for the governing Labour Party. And I'm going to show you in map form. You can, of course, see this yourself if you're subscribed to the New Statesman. Go to newstatesman.com. Come on, spend that £1 on that map. We've got to pay people's wages. I might get a pay rise out of it for once. Come, go to newstatesman.com. Look at that map. It is dramatic. It is a real change. Let me show you. Okay, we're going to talk about what's happened. An absolute bloodbath for the governing Labour Party. Very little headway for the official opposition. In fact, in areas outside of the capital, the Tories, the Conservatives, have fallen backwards. Reform are in ascendance. This peak, this notion that the Reform vote has peaked and its only way is downwards, I think we need to appreciate what that peak is, because it's quite high. It's very high in certain parts. We're talking 50, 60% in parts of Chorley. We're talking, 30% in places like 40% in places like Tamworth. And we're talking, yes, 5 to 10% in places like Oxford, Reading, Wandsworth, and so on and so forth. Has Reform peaked? Don't really know. But peaking looks very, very successful for the Reform Party. The madness, as one commenter says, is about to continue. My name is Ben Walker. This is Britain Elects. I'm the co-founder of Britain Elects. I'm a data journalist with the New Statesman. And full disclosure, yes, I'm an elected borough councillor in Chester. My seat is up for grabs next year. If my seat was held today, I don't think I'll be holding it there. I'll say that for a fact. But here we are. Let's have a look at what happened last night. Well, that's my author page. You can go read that if you want. You can go see the results here. Live results map. Wales, Scotland and local elections. The English local elections. Which seats could Labour lose? We were talking Labour could lose upwards of... What was it? I said Labour could lose 3/4 of their seats. At the start of the night, they were on course to lose 90 to 80%. They were losing rather 9 in every 10 of the seats they were defending. It's slowed down since. Quite frankly, they are putting up a better fight in London, but I don't think Wandsworth, which we've had, or Merton, which we've had, is necessarily representative in that. Okay, so I still think, to a degree, even though John Curtis says otherwise, I still think Labour is on course for historic proportions of losses, the likes of which no governing party has ever seen in recent statistical, modern post-war history, in local government terms at least. To lose 3/4 of your seats, that's what the Britain Elects forecast said a few days ago. Is it going to bear out? Well, let's find out. So, this doesn't look like a very busy map right now, but to tell you the truth, when you zoom in, a lot has happened. So here is the areas where we've had results, or rather I've entered, and this is how they voted last time. So let's just look at this part of Greater Manchester and Merseyside, okay? So what you've got here is you've got Stockport, Tameside, parts of Oldham, Salford, Wigan, Bolton, Chorley, and I think that's it. This is how they voted at the last election. But when we look at the results just declared, let's see how dramatic it is. Big time. Big time. You're seeing, and we'll just go back to 2022 to 2026. 2022 2026. As one person just commented, is this a once-in-a-lifetime type of loss? I think fair to say it is. We've never seen anything like this before. Never before has the Labour Party been so pushed back in Tameside, Salford, Bolton, Chorley at the same time. And let's just talk about Runcorn. Runcorn, the site of the Runcorn and Helsby by-election, in which Reform won it by 7 votes. This is how it voted 4 years ago. Reform swept with a solitary Lib Dem. The Lib Dems, I think one Lib Dem member described themselves as cockroaches. I wouldn't exactly be that offensive, but I think you can see why they might say that. So, let's just click on one ward in Runcorn, maybe this one. What do we get here? Mersey and Western Ward, and you can see what happened here. The Reform vote fell. No, not the Reform vote. The Labour vote fell from 57% to 27%. Reform won it with 37% of the vote. Why do we look at this Lib Dem seat? Lib Dems only dropped 3 points. 45% of the vote to Reform's 40%, and the Labour Party kindly agreed to not stand in that election, or maybe they just didn't have candidates. Halton Grange Ward, Reform 40%, up 40 points on the last election. They didn't stand here before. Labour losing more than half their vote share. They had 44, 54, 64, 70, 78% of the vote at the last election, and then they won 34%. I know for a fact some of these candidates just did not campaign. It's as simple as that. Some of these candidates were saying as late as December last year, oh, I think I might put out a leaflet. I think I might go door knocking. When I asked. Oh, I think I might. Yeah, April's all right, isn't it? Clueless. Halton Castle Ward. Labour vote didn't halve, but it fell by 30 percentage points, 29 percentage points. What about if we go into Widnes itself? Labour vote fell even worse. That's interesting. In Runcorn itself, the Labour vote fell by 20-something, 30-something percentage points. Maybe as a reaction to the fact they have a Reform MP. Maybe they put up a better fight, I suppose. Who knows? But in Widnes, or rather what is the West Bank, which, no, the Greens do not represent, Reform got 52% of the vote here. Labour fell 57 percentage points in the West Bank ward of Halton. I think this part of the world appears in many films because there's a lovely image of a bridge, the railway bridge, going into Runcorn. It's a good vista. Anyway, Labour falling 57 points. Go into Widnes proper. Appleton ward, Labour falling 48 points, much more than they fell in Runcorn itself. And they hold on here in Highfield ward. Look at that. Labour got 41.6%. to Reform's 41.2. Let me just turn the music down a bit. Greens almost acted as a spoiler here, coming in with 12%, and yet they held it. I think that was a 6-vote majority for Labour. Another one. This was a 1-vote majority for Labour in Widnes. This more, what would you call it? Semi-detached? Not semi-detached. New build. Pretty new build part of the world here. And Labour only held it by 1 vote. And by the way, I wouldn't say this is, a very Scouse part of the world. You got a lot of Scousers who live there. This idea that Scousers are loyally Labour till death do us part is dead and buried. That died years ago. Only now, I think, is the media catching up with that fact. And you're starting to see that here in Widnes, here on the Mersey side, and you might see it in parts of the Wirral next year. That's interesting. So that's only one borough. Dramatic falls. Why don't we go to seat of Angela Rayner, Johnny Reynolds, as others, and you just look at the dramatic change. Labour falling 38 points round here. We move over to Denton itself. One of the councillors was caught in that infamous WhatsApp group. Labour falling 33 points to 23%. They had 50+% of the vote here once upon a time. Reform coming in with 50% of the vote. And just bear this in mind, as someone has just sort of pointed out, two-party system isn't dead. It's having its corpse thrown about. And I would say, yes, true, we are in 5-party politics now. Coalitions, I suppose, are about to become the norm until they don't. But are you noticing something? People are winning still with respectable shares of the vote. Reform win this seat with 50%. Labour win this seat with 40%. Another seat, Reform win it with 37%, low-ish, but you're not seeing wins with 25% of the vote or 20% of the vote. We are a nation now of five-party politics, but we're not, voting as split as a five-party political nation would imply. We still coalesce around an axis of parties in certain seats. You will always, I say this to every candidate, remember this, your vote is a coalition coming behind you. They're not exactly loyally of your party as you perhaps think. I know from many examples where I'm based in which, one party wins the election, but most of their voters are probably more Lib Dem leaning or Green leaning or Reform leaning when they've got a coalition. Coalitions are becoming very, very normal here. Look at this, Oldham. Oldham Central itself, independent candidates. Pro-Gaza independent candidates breaking through. But, interestingly enough, shedding support to the Greens, who've gone up by 10 points here, 11 points here. Ditto Reform, who only got 11% in Central Oldham, which is very interesting because then you go, meanwhile, into Royton South, and Reform win 55%. Very, very, how could I call it? A very segregated result, if you want to be particularly blunt there. Chadderton North, Reform win that with 53%, but Chadderton Central somehow stays Labour. That was a shock. I did some work on Oldham, and I was quite frankly saying, yeah, most of these seats should just, no, Labour's not going to win any of these. For Labour to hold there, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Chadderton South, Reform 48%. You get the picture. Greater Manchester, a huge rupture in the Labour vote. Reform just sweeping it. This is how it looked 4 years ago. This is how it looks now. Greens breaking bread in new areas. Reddish North, a green gain from Labour. If you just look at this bar, let me zoom in on it for you. This illustrates it very well. The Labour vote, once resplendent, once dominant, 47, 57, 70% of the vote 4 years ago. Now they're on 22, and what happens? They get eaten from both sides. They are a carcass being picked apart by two different vultures, two different crows. And you can see it. You can see Reform rising 33 points, and the Greens rising 27 points. That's pretty good going. Meanwhile, in Salford Ordsall ward, again off the Lib Dems. That's remarkable, actually. I think I need to check that. I'm not sure. Was that right? I think, wow, that is dramatic. What else we got? Ooh, you see the picture. You see the picture. Green advance, but Reform are claiming gold here. And you're seeing the Greens break bread in parts of the world they're not used to winning. Here in Bolton Central, in Queen's Park and Central Ward, the Greens used to be the also-rans. They would pick up 5 to 10% of the vote and they would never really put in much of an effort. They then go on to win this ward with more than a third of the vote. Is it the same ward? Halliwell Ward as well. They win it with 42%, coming from nowhere. Seats, by the way, that should be on paper very favourable to Reform. Someone just commented on the YouTube, honestly, the Greens haven't done as well as I expected tonight. I would just say this, and I would say this to everyone listening and watching. We only have a fifth of the results in. We've barely scratched the surface of London. We've barely scratched the surface of where on paper they are more demographically favourable. I would say this, do not make judgments quite yet. Do not make your judgments yet. Wait until we have more results in. The night results are never representative of the election in its totality. I remember in 2022, people were writing off Labour never getting back into government again because in the northeast they weren't doing particularly well. They weren't exactly gaining well in Grimsby. But no, you gotta wait. You gotta wait. So sorry. Lincoln. Labour surprisingly held on to a fair few areas. Minster Ward, the site of the Cathedral, the Castle area, Carhome, Bultham, Park. Greens winning this with just 30% of the vote. Reform winning in Witham with 38% of the vote. 40%. Pretty split there. Something for everybody, unless you're a Tory. But Grimsby, meanwhile, oh my God, look at this. What seats changed hands? Everyone but the Lib Dem one. That cockroach point still has truck, doesn't it? Eastmarsh, Lib Dems holding on to that, losing admittedly 25 percentage points, and Reform rising by a third. But everywhere else, Reform win without so much as a recount, a saying I've developed. That got close at one point. That's interesting. What about Hull? So here's how Hull voted at the last election. Lib Dem versus Labour. The Lib Dems were able to win in... Is this the University Ward? I don't know which one's the University Ward. I've never been to Hull in my life. There it is. There's the University Ward. Lib Dems have been able to claim a decent mantle of leadership in Hull. And what happened last night? Reform eat into those Labour seats. Lib Dems still able to hold on, even advance in some areas, I think. Yeah, there's one there. Central Ward, Labour fall 37 points. Lib Dems only up 9, and they win it with just 31%. Christ. St Andrews and Docklands Ward, seat of a Reform candidate who only a few years ago was a Tory party member who absolutely hated UKIP and others, and then he since joined Reform. Recently elected, I know him well, and I wish him all the best, but a dramatic change. Interesting, in Hull, the winning vote share is only a third. 43% though, 52, yeah, interesting. And here's something you need to know. Turnout is up. Turnout is up in so many of these wards in England. In wards in which Reform won, in wards in which the Greens won, in wards in which any party won, there's one common thread: turnout is up. How do you read into that? Well, many reasons. First of all, we already knew from the get-go Reform were turning out new voters. You can see that partly in the data, although some pollsters do, because it's such an unreliable sample, non-voters, historic non-voters and their certainty to vote. Pollsters don't really like to talk about it, but when you actually do pay attention to it, you do notice that among non-voters, most of them are saying they'll go Reform, and we are seeing that turnout in the Runcorn and Helsby by-election. You know, in Runcorn itself, the poorer part of that constituency, it was always going to be relatively low. But that gap between poorer and richer areas in the Runcorn and Helsby by-election, you know, on paper it's always meant to be that, but it was more like that. That's what we saw in the by-election. Reform turning out new people, and we're still seeing that. But what we're also seeing now are a great many people who switched off in 2024 because Labour's win was guaranteed, now saying, yeah, you know, I will come out. I'm now awake to the prospect of Nigel Farage coming into number 10. I now want to engage. Some of them want to engage for Farage, but more of them want to engage against him, to vote tactically against him, or rather, and disproportionately, vote Green or for a party on the left. It's gonna be very interesting. So turnout is up. Reform are, quite frankly, sweeping so many of these areas. Areas, by the way, that Labour, you know, tried so hard to win back. Hartlepool, here. Here's how it voted previously. Looks more competitive, doesn't it? You have an independent there, but no. Reform won that with 53%. What about this Labour ward? Victoria ward, no. Labour down 29 points. This is just normal now. You think you inherit a safe seat and it's just gone. It's just gone. So that's the north. What about the Midlands? We've got Dudley in the Black Country. And the Tories, interestingly enough, do they still have a presence? Just about. Just about. Look at that. They only win in Halesowen and Kings, Winsford, North and Wall Heath. The rest, they're totally sidelined by Reform. Even Labour are able to cling on in a part of Dudley, although not by much. The Tories hoped they could do a little bit better than this. The fact they didn't is poor indeed. What about Tamworth? The Tories, it's on the list of Tory marginals. No. Reform swept all, winning 50, 40, 55, 45% of the vote here. This was a Labour gain. There was a by-election. Labour gained it off the Tories. Reform only got 5 to 9% of the vote. Now they're winning the council elections with 40, 50 plus %. And by the way, turnout in these council elections, I reiterate, is up on where it was. Dramatic. We're getting through Newcastle under Lyme here, which is next to the Potteries of Stoke-on-Trent. Reform are picking it up, but the Tories still have a presence in the more rural areas. It's interesting. If you have to make one observation about the Tories, it might be that they are still a rural party, even though on the outskirts, in places with sizable population centres, maybe they are dead and buried. All a bit TBD. But meanwhile, they win in Harlow. They took 5+ seats off Labour in Harlow, and they still have a decent presence in Peterborough. Look at that. It's like a rainbow cake in Peterborough. You have Reform gaining from the Cons, the Tories holding there, the Tories holding there, the Tories gaining from Labour there, the Tories gaining from Labour also there. This is Dogsthorpe and Park Ward. The Tories also gaining from Labour in North Ward. The Lib Dems holding, an independent candidate holding, a Reform candidate picking up a seat off the Tories, the Greens holding somewhere, and the Greens gaining from Labour. Something for everybody. How inclusive. What else we got? Broxbourne, remarkably held firm for the Tories here. What about central London? Wandsworth, the Tories look like they just might... Well, they've beaten Labour to become the largest party in Wandsworth, which they scored a gain or two. Look at that one there, yeah. But note the Tories are gaining because they are not losing as much support as Labour. So this is St Mary's Ward right next to Battersea Power Station, isn't it? Tories get 35% of the vote. They're down 4 points. Labour get 32. They're down 11. What about another one? West Putney. Tories get 40%. They're only down 1 percentage point. Labour get 25. They're down 18 points. Who are the biggest beneficiaries here? Well, it's a bit of everybody. Greens pick up 6. Reform pick up 9. And meanwhile, over in Westminster, we're not seeing that much change yet. The Labour vote is down, but are the Tories necessarily advancing? No. This one here, Lancaster Gate, it says Labour gain, but rather it's a multi-member ward in which at the last election, the first place was Tory, the second place was Labour. What happened here is the first place is Labour, the second place is Tory. You could say it's a Labour gain, but in seat terms it's not. What else we got? Ealing, Labour held on here. What did they do? Their vote share just didn't fall as much as expected, even though 20-point falls, 15-point falls, 25-point falls. That's huge. What about this one? Richmond, which has now become a rotten borough in that every one of the councillors in Richmond upon Thames is a Lib Dem. Wonder what good will come out of that. What about in Merton Ward, which I understand saw a Labour gain? Is that right? Where is it? Well, you saw a Lib Dem gain from Labour. Well, we can check it, actually. Changed hands. Which seats changed hands? There's one. Wandle Ward. Ooh. An advance in support for Labour. Labour up 9 percentage points. The Lib Dems down 2. What happened there? That's interesting. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. Is that the only seat in the country in which the Labour vote has gone up? Quite possibly. We're starting to get results in from East London, parts of Havering, Rainham, near Dagenham. You're seeing Reform compete with famous residents groups, independence groups in Havering, and Reform are still coming clear ahead. Not by much. Look at this one in St Albans Ward in Havering. Reform only getting under 30% of the vote to Labour's 26, but Labour is down, 21 points. What about this one? Beam Park, next to Rainham. Labour winning with 29% of the vote. Very split. Yeah, very interesting. Reading. Let's just look at how this was at the last election. Yeah. So you see Reading Central go from Labour to Green here. Yeah, Abbey Ward, look at that. Green's up 15 points, Labour down 15. Thames Ward, Greens up 19 points, Labour down 22. Coley Ward, Greens up 16, Labour down 18. What about the wards where Labour held on? Labour down 17, Greens up 17. Direct transfers here. Direct transfers. But you're also seeing it in other parts of northern England where you're seeing Labour fall 50 points and Reform rise 50 points. It's all over. It is a carcass being pecked at from all sides. Church Ward, Labour only fall 7 points. Wow. I think most Labour councillors would be glad for that. That's Reading. What about Oxford? Look at this. So green. And it's here in the east where there are more estates, more poorer areas where the Labour vote just holds on. But holds on, they fall 20 points. But who benefits? That's interesting. An independent group pick up 13 points. Reform pick up 10. Headington Ward, Lib Dems lose 7, Labour lose 15, Greens pick up 13. Interesting that. Turnout's up across the board. I don't see any differentials yet, but I need to spend some more time looking into it. That's Oxford. Let's move down to Portsmouth, or the city of Pompeii. Let's just remind ourselves. Here's how it looked in 2022. You have independents, Labour presence, Tories still with a presence, and the Lib Dems still competitive. What happened? Labour pick up Tory seats. Let me say that again. Reform pick up Tory seats. Reform pick up Labour seats, and they reduce the Tories almost to extinction in Portsmouth with this one seat, Drayton and Farlington Ward. The Tories getting 36% to Reform's 35%. Very, very tight indeed. Lib Dems. There's something about the Lib Dems. They know how to win. They know how to win elections. If I were you, I would temporarily join the Lib Dems, get all their secrets, and learn how to campaign. I'm very friendly with the Lib Dems in Cheshire. No, I'm not joining them. Southampton Ward. Southampton City. This was a bunfest. And by the way, this could have been the site of a very rare win for the Trade Unionists and Socialist Coalition. One of those, I don't want to call them cranks, but one of the more left-adjacent fringe movements that has always put up candidates, particularly in Southampton, but has always polled, 3, 4, 5%, except in one ward. And it's this one. I don't know how to pronounce that. Bevois. Is it Bevois? Probably, it's near France. Bevois Ward in Southampton. Labour won this with 31%. But note, they dropped a catastrophic 41 points here. That OTH, you see, other, is 23% for the TUSC, Trade Unionists and Socialist Coalition. They got 24% from nowhere, although I understand in 2024 they did okay. I think it's fair to say that if the Greens didn't stand here, the TUSC would have won. I've just been corrected. It's Beavis, not Bevois. It's not Bevois. Okay, lovely. That's something, and it's the only Labour hold of the night. Why? Because their main challenger was a very split left. The People's Front of Judea versus the Greens. Because meanwhile, where there was no People's Front of Judea, the Greens won with 39%, or 39%, or 28%, or 31%. Meanwhile, in Itchen, you have Reform winning with 31 and 42. And even the Tories, Yes, even the Tories picking up a seat with 30% of the vote. Oh my God, look at that. Look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to zoom in for you all. Let's just look at these figures. That is astonishing. Tories win this ward with 30% of the vote. They're down 11 points. Reform come from nowhere to take 26%. The Greens get 19%, that's up 8. And the Lib Dems put in a decent showing on 17%. What happened to the incumbents? They fell to 5th at 8%, down 41 points in this part of Southampton. Absolutely mad. Oh, is it not working? Can you see everything I'm doing? Ah, that's interesting. You can't see all of the names, I don't think. Can you? Does that work? Yeah, that works, doesn't it? If I just refresh the page. I thought you could see everything. I'm so sorry. Does that work? Okay, fair enough. Right. Going back to Southampton. This is how it looked in 2022. And there's 2026. Multicoloured chaos. Here's a new feature you can find on the map. You can see the vote shares just by looking at that like that. You can see where the Tory strength is. It's to the east of the main river. Labour's strength is still just about in the centre, but it has flattened out, hasn't it? Lib Dems have something north of the city. The Greens coming in where Labour used to have strength. Reform, ditto, have strength on the outskirts. And let's just look elsewhere. Reform's strength is on the northern tip of the city of Portsmouth. If we go to Exeter, they're not nothing in Exeter. How did Exeter vote? Also a multicoloured, chaotic world. Look at that Priory Ward. What happened to this map? Just bear with me. Let me see if I can fix this. Is that going to work? That should do it. There you go. You can see it, or at least more of it, I think. Reform winning this with 29%. Ruining my argument. The argument that, that we still coalesce around two parties. I need to analyse that, see how often that happens. Pennsylvania ward in Exeter. Greens winning this clearly. 39% to the Lib Dems 18, Reform 17, and Labour 17. Labour down, but not totally out. They're still holding on to some of their seats, but not all of them. It looks still like a humiliation, not least here in Portsmouth. Not Portsmouth, Plymouth. Here's how Plymouth voted the last election. Clear win for Labour on the... Is it a peninsula? Yeah, I guess you could say it is, in a way. And then what happened in the election just gone? Reform surround Labour in their last... What do you call this? Milehouse, Peveril and Stoke wards, and they aren't exactly the most emphatic of wins. And even the Greens are getting in with a win in Sutton and Mount Gould. And the Tories are not dead, but they are very much reduced from a significant portion to just one. Humiliation for the two main parties in England so far. That, I think, covers what we've had thus far. What do we have next? Well, if you go to... Where is it? Is it this one? Let's see if it loads. If you go to the New Statesman website, you can see what else is up later today. Here's how it voted last time. We've got all of London to come in. We've got East Anglia to come in. We've got Birmingham itself to come in. That is going to be chaos. Wales will be coming in soon, in which the First Minister, Eluned Morgan, may just lose her seat. The First Minister of Wales losing her seat to the Reform Plaid onslaught. We have Newcastle, Sunderland, by the way, in which the Lib Dems and Labour have conceded defeat to Reform 2. Scotland, in which we do not know whether there will be a pro-independence majority. There probably will. I would say there almost certainly will. But there's, it's within the margin of decent tactical voting that could deny the Nationalists a majority in Holyrood. Though I do think if there was going to be any tactical voting in Scotland, it would be to the Greens' benefit. It might also be to the SNP's benefit. Maybe to a lesser extent, actually. There's a lot still to come in. We only have a fifth of the results in, but here's what you need to know. It has been an absolute rout for the government. Hundreds of Labour councillors, Labour candidates have become the fall guy for Sir Keir Starmer and his premiership. They now suffer defeats, losses of income in some parts, as a consequence of the decision taken by Keir Starmer, one, to block Andy Burnham in Gorton and Denton, the impacts of which helped propel the Green vote forward. There is no doubt about that. But also consequences of government communication issues winter fuel, which still comes on the doorstep, still comes up in the focus groups, and a whole litany of other things. The consequences of a country that is not feeling any relief in the cost of living crisis, which is still a crisis, which is still being felt. There is no felt relief, so the voters are lashing out. Of course they're lashing out. Is Labour currently outperforming my expectations? I'm not sure. My forecast was the most pessimistic for them. We only have a fifth of the results in. They're getting absolutely mauled, absolutely routed in so many areas. Can't say we're certain yet. It could. We're really not sure. So I think that covers it. You will have more results come in, 11 a.m, obviously UK time. From then, more counts start declaring. Some councils are just wrapping up what they've done so far, and you've seen that on the map. You can find this map on the New Statesman page, newstatesman.com. Yes, you need to subscribe. It's worth it. The magazine is much improved on where it was a few years ago with new editors and such like, and I think we can all agree to that, whether you agree with the leftward slant of the New Statesman or not. It's a good magazine. Good people write for it, even though too much London, but I'm glad to represent the North as any Northerner would. It's been a tiring night. It's been a slaughterhouse for the Labour Party. It has been a slaughterhouse for the Conservatives as well, and we need to acknowledge that, or rather promote it more, when you have BBC journalists such as Laura Koonsberg saying it's been grim but not horrific for the Conservatives, given they are getting third place in votes, given they are not on course for any return to power, given they will not be the most popular right-wing party in the country. I think it is pretty horrific for the Conservatives, just not apocalyptic for as it is for Labour. Horrific, yes, but at least they still have a presence. Labour, I don't know what presence they do have. John McDonnell, one of the backbenchers, very much on the left of the party, actually put it pretty well. You know, this isn't just worrisome for the Labour Party, you know, falling out of power, losing power. It's worrisome for the Labour Party because it threatens their very existence. What use the Labour Party if you do not even win in Runcorn at the same time as not winning in parts of Wandsworth or parts of London? If you can't win anywhere, if you cannot put together enough votes to win anywhere, what is the point of you? It's like the question which befell the SDP in the mid-1980s. You turn that argument on its head. Tories were consoling themselves in thinking it's just the SDP reform. It's just the SDP. Don't worry about it. It's like the Greens. It's just the SDP. They'll surge, they'll boom, then they bust. The sentiments which power them along are stronger than they've ever been in this country. We are more cynical today than we have ever been. We are more cynical today than we were in the midst of the expenses scandal of 2009, 8, 9, I think it was. We are less loyal to any party. We are more of a shake things up variety than a steady as she goes than in recent history. We want to be rabble-rousers. We want to rouse and cause a bit of trouble and try something new. The main parties need to meet that, otherwise Mr Farage is in Downing Street. Happily supported by Kemi Badenoch, probably. Change needs to come, needs to be felt. So that summarises the State of the Nation on the morning of Friday the 8th of May. It's coming on 8 a.m. now. I need to go get a few hours sleep. I'm doing another broadcast and surprise, surprise, I am going on a stag do. Perfect timing. I'm going to Munich, all the while the country, or rather the Labour Party, is falling apart around me. Good stuff. Thank you very much for watching. You will see more of me on the New Statesman. This map will continue to be updated. You'll continue to get results. Enjoy. It's good news for some, bad news for others, but public service, being a councillor, I think it's worth it. I enjoy it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Ben Walker. I will see you